Hey, it's the nerdy sports fan, and it looks like YouTube hates me right now because this is now the third attempt at getting the Dolphins draft grade video up, but hey, here goes. So, I love Tua Tagovailoa. I think that he, were it not for his injury, would be a legitimate counter argument for Joe Burrow as the first overall pick. His college production has depth to it that Joe Burrow's simply does not. And whereas Joe Burrow had the best college football season of a quarterback ever, it's the only thing on his resume. And there's a depth to his resume that would have given a serious argument there. And the fact that you are getting a guy who, until he was hurt, was widely regarded as the number one overall pick. At number 5, you didn't have to trade up to get him with Detroit. It's big. Really is. Kudos. You have a quarterback who is likely to develop into a long-term starter. I'm not crowning him as a Hall of Famer or anything like that. I'm not Trent Dilfer, his coach. He shows all of the physical tools needed. He shows the intangibles needed. So he's got great potential to develop long term. Let's see what he does with it now. Later on in the draft, not so much. So Austin Jackson, you want to give him a Humanitarian of the Year award? Sure. You want to draft him in the first round? Little dicey. He had a not so good year. Couple of years in a row. He was developing and trending to being a very good player. And you want to see that cap on it. When they're just trending positively, you want to see that season where they put it all together. That didn't happen. That didn't happen because pre-season, he donated bone marrow to his sister. And a lot of people are pointing to his lack of mobility and lack of production, especially early this past season, to a slow recovery process from the surgery that required him to. I want to say when you get a bone marrow transfer, it has to come from a larger bone, like your hip or a femur, and things like that take a lot of time to heal. So I get it. I do. But there's a question mark there. And there were other tackles available that honestly I had rated higher than Austin Jackson just based off of his good film in his junior year. So I don't know. I don't agree with it. High character guy. Don't get me wrong. There's better tackles out there. Later on in the draft, you trade down and end up picking up Noah Igbenogany at corner. Not sold. I'm sorry, I'm not sold on Igbenogany. There were a good number of corners still available that had better college production. This is the National Football League. This is not the National 40-time League. This is not the National Height, Weight, Speed League. National Football League. I want to see how good you can play. I don't care so much about potential growth in the first round. Potential growth players are for later on in the draft. So you want somebody in the first round that you can say, this guy's going to be a player. He's going to be a starter on our roster. I don't see that in Noah Igbenogany. I see somebody who has great measurables. He's fast. He's got the height. He's got the length. Who needs to grow into the position and develop the instincts, develop the techniques. There's at least 2 or 3 players drafted after him that are better suited technique-wise, instinct-wise, and have much better college production. I would have taken Jalen Johnson over Igbenogany. Heck, I would have taken Christian Fulton over Igbenogany. Trayvon Diggs. All of these guys have something in common. They don't necessarily have the workout numbers and the measurables that Igbenogany does. So you are giving up surefire production in hopes that somebody develops later on. And again, I just don't want to see that out of the first round pick. Ever. And I get it was your third first round pick, so maybe you thought this was a bit of a luxury deal. I don't know. Either way, watch the film on these guys. The other players that were still available were far more productive. Let's go on. So into the second round, we have Robert Hunt, who is going to be a solid right tackle. He was drafted in an area where you expected him to be drafted, and it's an area of need. You already addressed left tackle. Assuming that Austin Jackson does develop into that. So both bookend tackles, yeah, that's a positive thing. And Raekwon Davis, I'm actually high on. I like Raekwon Davis. I think that he could have gone as early as the second round. So getting him, well, it was the second round, but earlier in the second round. I think he's going to be a good fit for the defensive scheme. I think Saban guys typically work well in Belichickian style defenses. They're similar run programs. So he already knows the kind of discipline and work ethic that he's going to have to take to the team day in and day out. I would have liked to see more dominance from a guy that size in college play, but you're splitting hairs there. He did have really good production for a college defensive tackle. You can't deny that. He's got good run stopping and pass rush ability, so he will immediately be a rotational player and likely be a full-time starter by the end of the season. So kudos on the Raekwon Davis pick. Brandon Jones is a meh. Solomon Kindley I really like. Where you got him, especially getting a guy who's going to be a starting guard, because that's what he is. Okay, he just does not let people touch his quarterback. Very few quarterback pressures even have come off of Kindley's block. So there's a pedigree there. And again, production. You see production in college, you assume production in the NFL. So I really love the Solomon Kindley pick. After Kindley, you have a couple of defensive ends. Jason Strobridge, which is he's valued at that position, but not really much else I can say about the guy. He's a maybe to me. But Curtis Weaver, man, getting a guy who is, well, he's the career leader in sacks for the Mountain West Division. Career leader. I get it. He doesn't have the best measurables, but he can fucking play football. All right? This is a guy who got a statistical record that you cannot just stumble into. I don't care what his 40 time is. I don't care what he bench presses. I don't care that he doesn't look like the best athlete. I don't. Because if we were just comparing athletes, this is the conversation we're having about Noah Igbenogany, okay? This is not the National Track and Field League. It's not the National Body Fat Count League. It's the National Football League. Can you fucking play football? And Curtis Weaver has proven he can. So this draft is a bit of a mixed bag for me. Late 6th and 7th round picks, I don't care about. Okay, the likelihood of those guys making the team is slim to none. They're going to be special teams contributors at best. I'm not going to waste my breath. But there's players that I'm high on, players that I'm really down on, based off of where they were drafted, what the needs of the team are, who is available at that time. So I'm interested to see how it pans out. You had a lot of picks, so you still ended up getting your hands on 4 or 5 guys that I like. But you should have gotten your hands on way more. For this, I'm giving the Dolphins a C. I like the coaching staff. I generally like the front office. I love your first overall pick. And I love a handful of picks further down the draft. But those second 2 first-round picks left me scratching my head enough to not understand the true direction that this draft board was going for the Dolphins. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. Hit up the rest of the videos that I have, because I'm doing one of these for every team. See what I feel about other teams' drafts before you start tearing into me, please. But yeah, if you enjoy the content, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.